Welcome back to Call Me By Your Game, the podcast where I, your host, Connor McCabe, bring on a guest to hear from them about a meaningful or memorable video game from a particular moment in their life. And on the show, we talk as much about what made playing that game special and memorable to our guest as we will get into the context of how and when they had this meaningful time with it in the first place. A little bit of housekeeping up top is that anything that my guest or I plug on today's episode, you can just find a link in your show notes. So whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on your favorite podcast catcher, if you scroll down and you want to find out the cool stuff we're up to and follow us on any of those places, if you scroll down, it'll be in a pretty easily clickable link for you. And that includes, like our social media stuff that we have going on for the show, and also our Patreon, which if you're, if you like me and the podcasts that I host with other people and you want bonus episodes by supporting us, if you check us out on patreon.com/supernpcradio, you can find a bunch of bonus great episodes waiting for you there. I'll plug it at the end of the show too. We do a games club over there every month. We do other bonus episodes like one that I host every single gosh darn month. If you happen to be a fan of Mario Golf Toadstool Tour on the GameCube, I just did a whole overview episode with two of my good buddies that we just played the hell out of this game together. So it's a lot of great stuff over there. Again, links are in the show notes. And that'll do it for the housekeeping. I'll finally introduce our guest for today's episode, so please welcome improviser, actor, and Zelda lover, Sean Williams.
Hello, yes, welcome. Hi, everybody. Why did I say welcome onto your show? Thank you for having me on that. No, that was weird. Thank you for having me on here. It's like somebody walking into somebody else's house. Welcome. It's like, wait, no, I live here, not you.
I'll say I'm actually a big fan of it, and here's my positive spin on it, is that you're just such a welcoming person that you're like, I want you to feel welcome even on your own show. So I appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate that, Connor. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited. I've been listening to this podcast for a while now, and
awesome.
It's so great to actually be able to celebrate games and what it means to us, and to laugh and to reminisce. I think that's really cool because, we didn't really have that not too long ago.
Yeah.
Where we can just outwardly say like, yeah, I love Star Fox and Peppy O'Hare, and people be like, what are you talking about? Get out of here, you outcast. And I'm like, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I know Peppy by his last name.
I know, right? So this is great. So thank you again for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's so nice of you to say that about the show. I really appreciate it. Like you and I were talking about a bit before the show, this podcast just gives me a chance to, not just hear from someone about, their love for video games, but it's an excuse for me to sort of like trick someone into getting to know me even better. So
that's what it is. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm so happy to have you on and really excited to talk to you about a bunch of stuff today. First and foremost, I know you through the Los Angeles improv community out here. Specifically through like the UCB sort of, wing of theaters and shows. I definitely know you first and foremost with your team Lemon Pepper Wet. And I don't know how long you've been on the team for, but I do remember specifically, I'm almost positive that you played a show over summer 2022. This was like right before Herald Night came back, and you all used to host a show there. There's a theater by, like on Santa Monica Boulevard.
Yes.
On a little side street. I don't know if it's on Heliotrope. I could have done my research to figure out what theater it was, but
no, your research, my memory, both of those, like my memory is so bad.
They've got they had like couches in the theater as part of seating.
That was wasn't that the Blue Goose Lounge?
Maybe.
Wasn't that next to UCB Sunset, formerly known as UCB Sunset?
I'm thinking of a different place only because I have specific memories of too many parties at the Blue Goose. But there's another theater that I remember seeing you perform at, and I don't know if it was the first time I had seen you or not, but you had a particularly great show and it was really fun.
Thank you.
And I had already known a bunch of your teammates for a long time, many of which are former guests of this podcast. But
nice.
That's how I know you, and we've been seeing each other, I feel like, a lot more, specifically the last, 6 6 or 8 months around UCB. But outside, I mean, even you could share about improv too. But who are you? What do you want to share with the listener about yourself today?
Well, before I even do that, let me just say, coming from Connor, realize your host right now is one of the funniest, wittiest comedians, improv comedians out here right now. So for him to even say that about me means a lot. So I appreciate that.
Oh, thank you. I'm going to clip this and I'm going to replay this whenever insecurity just bubbles up to the surface.
Yes. There we go. No worries. I got you. But I truly mean that. And we obviously know each other through the UCB circle. I teach there as well right now, which is so wonderful. It's so rewarding. Seeing myself like years and years ago coming into this improv space and like, I'm supposed to be funny. I don't know how I'm going to go about it. And being able to kind of take them through that journey, try to encourage them through that journey and help them find their own voice, right? And especially, Connor, and I've said this on other podcasts, the UCB community is so exceptional. Like, and it's wonderful because we all just hang out and we see each other and then we converse when we do see each other in person. And then doing podcasts like this or anytime there's a show or something. And look, my team, Lynn Pepper White, I love doing it, but I'm gonna tell y'all right now, I love improv as well. So if you have an improv team, if you ever need a guest, I'm not too shameful. I'm plugging myself.
Yes.
Call me up because I love improv.
Put me in, coach.
I know, right? Tag me in. And it's so nice to have a community that welcomes that. And so being able to just kind of converse with you about just video games and then, or just things in general, and then it leads to this. And that's kind of how things happen. And, for the most part, LA is the biggest, smallest city in the world. Everybody knows everybody. So just the improv community in general is especially more so now, it's very welcoming no matter where you are, no matter where you're studying, performing, etc. You just never know. And being able to embrace that, I think that is great. And it's so funny, like, this is my social life. I have no other social life outside of improv, video games, and my wife, and not particularly in that order. My wife is my first social.
We'll go ahead and reorder that in a specific way.
Yeah, let's go ahead and edit that part out, or put that one in front. But yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, I feel like I can relate to you so much. I've been out in LA for I think in the next week or so I will have hit 11 years living here, which is
congrats.
Thank you, which is bonkers. Also, just for the viewers at home, can you put up your mug one more time that you were just drinking
I had
from?
To.
Yes. A Legend of Zelda Link to the Past mug. You themed this so well, and I've got to say, and I will get us back on track. You also have the old man from the original Zelda T-shirt on right now. So if it's dangerous to go alone, take this.
Exactly.
I'm so ashamed. Maybe on the break I'm gonna change T-shirts because I have a friend who a couple years ago for like a Secret Santa got me. I don't know where he found it. I assume it was like from like a thrift store or something. But it's this T-shirt that someone put a print of the original It was art of the original Link, not like the pixel art of like the Link we know from the NES game, but
from the instruction manual, the cartoonish short.
Yes, it was either from the manual or like one of the art covers that isn't used actually on the game box. But it's a great shirt. It's just like a little small on me, so I don't really wear it out anymore because I don't like how it feels.
Just put a jacket over it or something. Because you got to wear it out now. I have to see this next time I see you.
I'm going to do this truly for you. But maybe on the break I'll switch out. I'm just really proud of like all your Zelda stuff that you got going on right now.
Oh, there's more. Trust me. There's more throughout the show. Oh, yeah.
Yes. I think we're going to be in really good company today as two huge Zelda fans. Anyway, I've been out here for 11 years. I started studying at UCB in September of that year of 2013, which is just feels bonkers at this point. But I feel like I've had like kind of a similar experience where, the sort of acceptance and welcome nature of the theater and the communities around it has definitely grown and really improved over the years. Mm-hmm. And now I feel like I'm sure there's, massive ways that it can continue to become better. But it has been great to see over the years that has really improved. Probably, I think that is a product of people coming up and maybe not feeling as welcome as they'd like. And once they had more of a platform or something, help that develop. So
exactly.
Yeah, it's great. And also same here, like the majority of my social groups or like social time is from fellow improvisers and people I know through UCB.
Yeah. And I think that just comes from us always being present and just actually enjoying the moment, right? Being out and enjoying each other in the moment and not worrying about, oh, damn, I got to go to work the next day, or, oh man, I'm stressed from we're just living in the moment. And that's also the beauty of video games. You're present, you're right there and you're playing and you're almost immersed into that environment, whatever that video game is that you're playing, whether it's a fighting game, like, your guest prior to this, or if it's a first person shooter, whatever the case is, you're immersed in that. And I feel like that immersion into video games and improv is almost twofold. Like it's just right there. It's synced up. And maybe my video game fandom, nerdom back when I was growing up led me into hopefully becoming a decent improviser to where Connor comes on and says that I do good work. So I like to credit my video game history for that.
Yes, I'm sure. I like to think it's all connected too, for sure. That's awesome. Outside of improv and teaching there, is there anything else you wanted to share about yourself with the listener, or did you get to do that?
You know what? I think I did, but teaching, improvising, kind of like you. I came out to LA around the same time. Oh,
cool.
Been out here, December of 2011. Oh my gosh!
Wow, nice.
I know, right? Time flies, and it's been amazing. As for me, just like, again, performing. So you'll see me around LA. I don't know if this is the plug part yet. Sorry, I won't do that.
Hey, we can do it up top and at the end, please.
Perfect. I do have a couple of shows coming up. I have a show at the Teachers Lounge coming up next week, June 11th, I believe.
Ooh.
And then I'm working on a variety show, like a live person variety show, like on stage.
Oh, sick.
I'm a big Flip Wilson, Johnny Carson, Arsenio Hall fan of like that type of talk show format.
Yes.
Where you have multiple guests, whether it's improv, sketch, stand-up, musical. And so I've been basically working on the creation of that for the past month and a half or so, just trying to hammer out all the little details, because I did something a little bit similar to it during the pandemic. So we had Zoom and do the backdrops and all that stuff, but it'd be nice to actually bring it back on stage and have that energy of the audience, like going back and forth. If something works, great. If it doesn't, even better.
Totally.
So definitely working on that. So be on the lookout. And then headed out to Denver for the Rise Comedy Festival first weekend in August. So that'll be fun, and that's going to be with Lemon Pepper Wet. So
awesome.
It's good. And then obviously Lemon Pepper Wet, we always have our not always, but we have our show at UCB every fourth Friday at 10 p.m.
Are you still paired with Menudo?
Yes, we are. And yes.
Cool.
It's a fun hour. Like we have fun. We do.
I love
They're
it.
So talented.
We've had plenty of the Menudo kids on this show too, but specifically July Diaz is a part of this sort of like group of contributors who do the podcast on this network. So,
nice.
Yeah, but I it's just such a great pairing of two awesome teams on Fridays. That's sick.
And see, and again, it's so wonderful that we all just kind of pair up, work with each other. And I feel like I'm on the tail end. Everybody else has done this except for me. And I'm Anybody from Lemon Pepper Web will tell you I am the biggest video game nerd.
Yeah.
I will go up on stage rocking an Earthbound shirt, and people are like, "Why is Charlie Brown? Why is he wearing Charlie Brown up there?" And it's like, oh, if only you knew.
You know what? I guess it's a prime example of saving the best for last.
Oh,
and here we are.
Good save.
And that is a direct shot at you, Leonard Smith Jr.
Yeah, Leonard, damn it, man.
Yeah.
Wait, what was the game that Leonard chose?
Leonard brought on FIFA World Cup 06, I want to say, which is like,
gosh.
Truly, it's been 3.5 years since he's been on for that episode, that solo episode.
Yeah.
But I think it was the one, it was a World Cup game, but he also joined, I do a bonus episode. One of the bonuses I was referring to on our Patreon once a month. Mm-hmm. It's basically like a version of this show, but more of like a group panel discussion.
Nice.
And even though we get into like the personal history, it is more of like an overview, like what do we all think of this game sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Leonard came on a few years ago as well, and we did a whole episode just on Wii Sports as well. And gosh, that was fun.
Oh, that sounds like so much fun.
Yeah.
What was your Wii Sports go-to game? Which one?
Well, I'm a huge baseball fan, and I played baseball throughout my life, so I love the baseball one. But I was thinking about this the other day. I think bowling for me is like pound for pound. I think it's just the best game among the five.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Boxing's a little bit harder, but I'm with you. I think for whatever reason that bowling game, it and I used to love going to bowling alleys and stuff, but
oh yeah.
Once that game came out, I was like, well, no, because you almost still have to turn the remote
yes.
a certain way to make sure that you get that spin. And it was, that bowling game was,
so
excellent.
Good.
So good, right? Oh,
well,
the Wii.
Oh, I truly brought it with me out of town this weekend. So, I never get tired of talking about it.
Nice.
But, so to get us back on track a little bit, after we've introduced you, before we get into your general history with video games, will you do me a favor and introduce what you've brought on today and call me by your game?
Yes, I have brought over my favorite Legend of Zelda game. Might be a little divisive, but I truly, truly, truly love this game. The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword.
Ooh, that's gorgeous. We're looking at that for the YouTube watchers can see. We're looking at the gold Wii cover, and gosh, it's great.
And not just that, my friend, but the Legend of Zelda 25th anniversary cover. I made sure to get this right when it was released.
Yes, I'll save it for the main event later. But did you also get the the CD set with all the music, the orchestrated music and stuff?
So.
Here we go.
Disc, and then when you open it, yes, you get the CD in there. It's the 25th anniversary symphony CD. It is magnificent.
Dude, I put that in my college MacBook, back when when laptops still came with CD-ROM drives, and I played that a bunch. It's great.
Same.
Yeah.
It's so good just to hear that orchestra recreating so many iconic songs. It still is. I haven't heard this in a bit because I have an Xbox 360 and that's the only way I could play my CDs right now. But I definitely need to go back and listen to this. But also, when you purchased the 25th anniversary edition, you got the game, the CD, as well as the Wii Motion Plus controller.
Oh, you got that one?
Yep.
Oh,
with
gosh.
The actual Zelda, yeah.
I'm jealous of that gold Wiimote you got right there. I did not get one when I got the game.
No.
It's nice because it has the Wii Motion Plus built into it, right?
Exactly. Which it should have had that from jump.
Yeah.
Because there were certain games that was like, this motion is not working. And then they introduced the Wii Motion Plus. And remember, Connor, it was a big, bulky little add-on that you put onto the regular Wii, which make your remote even heavier. And it's like, what the hell? But, but then I think they started with Wii Sports Resorts, that they started doing the Wii Motion Plus inside of it.
Yes.
And then this was just the commemorative edition for Skyward Sword to bump up the Legend of Zelda 25th anniversary.
They did I'll say one last thing and then we'll move on. But
Yeah.
they really did a few really nice touches for the release of that game. Like
They
both
did.
the Wiimote you showed, the music compilation. I can't wait to talk to you about this game later. I'm really excited.
Sorry.
No, you're doing great. This is awesome.
I'm
Like
just
my
happy.
excitement's bubbling up.
I love it. I can't help it. Okay.
Truly, we are in perfect company here for this. Getting into your history in general with video games, though, do you remember some of your earliest memories of interacting with games?
Actually, yeah. So, growing up, I grew up in El Paso, Texas.
Okay.
And loved it. But I didn't have a lot of friends growing up, to be honest. And so I spent a lot of my time with my Nintendo. So my earliest video game moments, honestly, is getting the original NES
for
Christmas and a copy of Bubble Bobble.
Okay.
So it wasn't I think the Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt cartridge was included.
Sure.
But for whatever reason, I remember Bubble Bobble being the first game I ever played.
Oh, wow.
On that system. And then obviously from there, I was into Nintendo religiously.
Yes.
I was in the cult. I was drinking the Kool-Aid. So it was watching the Super Mario Brothers Super Show, and then on Friday it was the Legend of Zelda cartoon series.
Wow.
With the actual talking Link talking about, "Excuse me, princess." It's god awful.
It's so cool to hear someone who actually I have the Super Mario Brothers, not the Super Show, but I have getting ahead probably.
No, please go. Yeah.
In I think when I was 12 at GameStop, they sold the animated series DVD.
Yes.
So I have that, but I'm familiar with the Zelda animated series from the memes, but it's cool to be hearing from someone who actually watched it.
And again, just because it was Zelda and just because it was Mario, and even though they took liberties, big time liberties, but it was just amazing to see it. And then there was a show called Captain N the Game Master, which to me was my original Avengers Endgame. You got Captain N, who's the proxy of us, but then you have Mega Man, Simon Belmont, Kid Icarus, or Pit from Kid Icarus. Mother Brain is the main villain. King Hippo, Eggplant Man. It's crazy. And then from there. Jumping back, sorry, I went to the weeds.
Oh, you are all good. Go for it.
But as far as the video games, so the NES was my safe haven. That was the thing for me. So Mario 1, 2, 3, Zelda both 1 and 2, The Adventure of Link, Metroid, all of those wonderful classic games. Kid Icarus before he was known as Pit.
Yeah. Samus before she was known as a girl.
Right. Yeah, exactly. She's a girl. Wait, what?
Yeah.
Who says girls can fight aliens? Oh, have you never seen Aliens?
Right.
Which is crazy. But you have so many of these classic franchises started on there, and I would play all those. And even Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I'm talking about the original one, the original game. I had both of those, the arcade game. And here's the crazy part. Connor, remember, we didn't have internet back then. So you had to actually read either the instruction manual and kind of figure the shit out on your own, which means that you had to keep playing the game over and over and over again. That's the beauty of it. Or you could do what I did and get a subscription to Nintendo Power. Yes. Which was, do you remember Nintendo Power?
Oh, I was a subscriber, I think, from when I was 8 years old up until, I can't remember when I stopped subscribing, but I was probably into high school.
Yeah, same. But before then, Nintendo Power was the thing to where I had the first magazine, which had a claymation Super Mario Brothers 2.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
Super Mario Brothers 2. And I had that issue. And before then, Nintendo Power actually only published one issue for 2 months.
Okay.
So you had to wait. And then every other 2 months. So Then it went to monthly, and then you had the fold out posters. So if you looked at my room back in the day, I had all the fold out posters from Nintendo Power up on my walls. So growing up, I had my NES, I had my Game Boy. I was a Nintendo only guy.
Yes,
that was it. I didn't own Sega. The whole Genesis, Nintendo. I took that personal. As lame as that is, Nintendo. Yes, Nintendo. You son of a. I'm upset, but I was like, no. But then I played Sonic and like Altered Beast, and I was like, okay, I get it.
Yeah, totally.
I had the Game Boy, so Tetris, Super Mario Land, Kirby's Dream Adventure. Oh my, Kirby's Dream Land. Sorry about that. So I had the Game Boy. All I had was Nintendo consoles, and then from there the N64. Oh my God, the Super NES.
Yes,
Super NES. Sorry.
There we go.
And then, which is probably like my favorite console, and then N64. So I had all of it. I had every Nintendo console. I didn't get another company's console until one of my really good friends gave me his Xbox 360.
Oh wow! I was gonna ask, and you got me there anyway.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Was that something that you got? Like, were they just kind of done with it? How did that happen?
So, so marriage with kids. So he was like, I don't have a lot of time to play this anymore. Would you want it? And I'm like, yeah, I mean, of course, but is it still good? Is everything? He's like, yeah, it totally runs. And I was like, okay, sure, I'll take it. And then he had like a couple of Halos. I think he had Marvel vs. Capcom, and that's when I started. That's the only time I started playing anything outside of Nintendo.
Yeah,
and I was like, okay, this is really good. I've missed a lot. What the hell? I've missed a lot, but I don't regret it because, to me, again, Nintendo was so instrumental to my childhood and even to my upbringing. I tell friends this all the time. The architects of my childhood is Steven Spielberg and Shigeru Miyamoto.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's awesome. Two pretty influential guys there.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's who it is. And so I love it. I love Nintendo. That was always my thing. And they always kept me in a good place. Like anytime I felt alone or by myself or anything, I could just blow in the cartridge, push it in, pop it down, and play DuckTales. It was great. Yeah.
Dang. So I've got a few questions for you now, but this is you really opened up and given me a good perspective into like your, at least the early journey of you as a gamer. When this this Xbox 360 fell into your lap, was that sort of a point where it like opened your eyes, or you were more curious and started exploring other consoles, or was that just like your one window into like the Xbox or the PlayStation?
That's a great question. I think it was more so like my one window.
Sure, yeah, like you continued to be Nintendo.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing is, and I I don't have as much time now to really just get into like the very expansive like games now are like, from what I've seen, and I don't have a 4K TV, so I'm not buying a PS5 or PS5. I'm not gonna make it look like it's 8-bit on my TV, but when I see like when I go over to friends' houses and they're playing like Spider-Man 2, and I'm just overwhelmed. I'm like, oh my God, that thing is beautiful. Or I see them playing Mortal Kombat 1 on whether it's on PS5, and I'm just like, oh my God, like this looks real. And I'm not saying I couldn't play it, but to me, I'm like, you know what? I'm okay if I don't.
Sure. Yeah,
I'm okay
absolutely.
if I don't play those. And I'm not going to play the Nintendo Switch ports because Mortal Kombat on Nintendo Switch does not look good. Sorry,
no,
it just
not
doesn't.
The place to do it.
God, no. So yeah, I think with the Xbox 360, that was my window. And,
okay, cool.
I don't mind playing more Xboxes, and again, like if push comes to shove, purchasing one of the more recent consoles.
Sure.
But it's not something that I'm rushing into.
Cool. That's great. I was just kind of curious, but I love that. As you know, a Nintendo stalwart, were you one of 12 of us to own a Wii U?
Yep, it's right over there. Yep, Wii U with Mario Kart 8, Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze,
yes,
Legend of Zelda Wind Waker HD. Yep,
yes.
I was in the woods. I was in the woods with y'all.
Yes, I should have known that the Wii U was kind of a failure because so to give you like a quick vision into like my journey as a Nintendo kid, I grew up with the NES, even though it was definitely before my time. I didn't know the Super NES existed till I went to like a friend's house, and I wouldn't get one till like 2019. Nice. The N64 changed my life for sure and set me on a path. Seeing Mario in 3D at a Toys R Us like just blew my entire mind.
That's what I was gonna ask. So like seeing Mario, seeing Zelda, like in that entire 3D capsules. Like
I never thought it would be possible.
Yeah.
And so the N64 was really where I became a video game player, I would say. And so I anticipated the GameCube, and basically GameCube, Game Boy Advance on, I was ready for every console that came out and pretty much got it, with the exception of the 3DS, only because I was kind of more of a casual gamer at the time.
Same.
Yeah.
Yep. Same thing.
I own one now, and I would eventually get like the 2DS systems, but so anyway, all that being said is that was a big Wii head too, and then when the Wii U was announced, I remember being like, what is this? Like, do I even need this? And wouldn't get it for I think 2 years.
Same. I swear on everything. I was the exact same way. The Wii U was announced, but they only focused on the controller. So I'm thinking, okay, is the controller an add-on?
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm not sure. But then they started talking about the price point of it. And then I think they did another, because they didn't do Nintendo Directs yet. I think it was strictly E3. And then they show the console and they show off Nintendo Land. And I'm just like, what is this?
Yeah.
And I'm just like you. I think the Wii came out in like, what was it, 2012 or 13?
The Wii U?
Yeah, the Wii U.
Yeah, it was 12.
2012. I didn't get mine until 2014, maybe early 2015.
Yeah, same here.
And not until I think more games came out. Because I remember going to GameStop and I couldn't find anything. And same, I was a casual gamer by then. So I didn't have a 3DS. I still had my GameCube. I still had my N64, but they were boxed up.
Sure.
So all I played was my Wii. And that sounded so bad. Right when all I played was the Wii.
Hey, you weren't alone, brother.
Right? And so then the Wii U comes out, and it just wasn't something that I had to rush to get, if that makes sense. And
it makes a lot of sense.
Because they actually have a great library of games. It's first party games, but you just, and then the controller, using the controller, and it's bulky. It crawled so the Switch could run.
Absolutely, yeah. But just to echo you, I'm in total agreement. Like, it's got a great lineup of first party games, and it's just, and I think I've probably talked about this, if not on this show, other shows, just how, and this has been documented, just how poor the marketing was for it and how confusing it was. But for me, I think it was when Smash 4 came out. That's what got me to get one.
Same. I think with that announcement and seeing that, do you remember? And please, I want to know your thoughts and feelings. I don't want to get too super off track. That revealed trailer for Super Smash Brothers. Because remember, at first they showed the 3DS one, which looked great because it had like the black outline to show the characters. And then Mario jumps and he turns into. I think Wii U was still only 720, so there were only certain games that were HD.
Sure.
And this bad boy was HD.
Yeah.
And so then you see Mario turning HD and everybody running. And I'm just like, oh, dear God. I haven't felt anything like that since Super Smash Brothers Brawl when they introduced Snake. And I'm like, whoa. Whoa, wait, what? What are we doing here? Third party, what? And so then you see the 3D Smash, and I'm like you, and then, Villager for Animal Crossing.
Oh, that was so good.
So good. But then, Connor, what did you think when that part cuts off, and then all of a sudden, the next part pops up? They scroll up the mountain, and you see a shadowy silhouette. And then you see the
yes. Dude, what? So good. This just makes me think of, we see Mega Man, and it's amazing.
Man. Oh my
and
God.
I'm like a very surface level Mega Man fan. X is the one I've played the most. I've dabbled with a few, but there was nothing like Smash reveals. Like
nothing.
I think I have memories of I think because Ultimate's the most recent one to come out that has like replaced maybe older memories of reveals, and that's when I was really locked in. But there was nothing like the hype of a Smash reveal, and who knows what the future of the franchise holds at this point. Like I still remember the last one when I'm not even I wouldn't even describe myself as a fan of Kingdom Hearts, but when Sora was revealed, I was also losing my mind.
Right, because you're like, how is this possible? And again, I didn't have a PlayStation, so I didn't play Kingdom Hearts. But I knew the importance of Sora, and I knew how much, from reading the tea leaves, that people wanted him in. They wanted him in Smash. And so just seeing that reveal and stuff, that's why I bought a Wii U. I spent, what was it, $350
probably,
or whatever, something like that, for a black Wii U just for Super Smash. And then I just ended up purchasing Mario 3D World and everything else after that, because I was sold off of the game. Yeah,
truly. So I think I'll get us back on track in a second, but the Wii U, it just took so long to finally have like compelling first party games too, which also wasn't, didn't help them at all. So fair to assume that you've got a Nintendo Switch at this point?
I'm glad you asked that.
Ooh.
Yes, I do.
Oh.
I do have my Nintendo Switch. I play it pretty often. This is the main thing I usually play, and I don't consider myself much of I used to always play video games on TV. I love looking at it on the TV and stuff, but sometimes, especially if you know how it is, like you're working, you come home, you're tired, you just want to lay down.
Yeah.
Oh, I can just pull my Switch out and just play that. And so,
Yeah, it's fantastic. That's awesome though. You've answered it's been great through this discussion of like your history with video games, and I know we've only scratched the surface, which is like
sorry about that. I didn't mean to ramble on.
No apologies necessary. This is just like it's a bittersweet part of having, because I have all walks of gamer on the show. I have someone like you who's clearly been like diehard Nintendo fan your whole life. I also have people who haven't played a game in years come on the podcast. And it's always bittersweet when I have someone on like you on the show, because it means that I'm not going to get to dive into what we could probably spend 10 hours discussing. But that being said, you've like given me the answers to questions I would normally ask or that I was curious about. So I guess the last thing that I have for you, I've got two more questions. The first one is there a game that you haven't gotten to play yet that you'd really like to get your hands on, whether it's something that has been recently announced and hasn't come out, or just a game you haven't had the time to play?
Wow. I'd probably say Spider-Man 2.
Oh, yes.
Like Spider-Man 1, I played a little bit of it, loved it.
Sure.
Absolutely adored it. I haven't played Spider-Man 2 yet, because again, I don't have a PlayStation. I want to play that game so bad.
Yeah.
I want to say it's that.
Cool.
yeah, as far as I'm trying to think like that, or even I haven't played Mortal Kombat 1 yet. So I want to get into that as well. So probably those two. Probably those two in particular.
Good couple ones to get into. And lastly, before we move on to the break and then the rest of the show, is there a game from your history that you haven't mentioned yet that you would be bummed out if you didn't throw in here before we move on? Oh, here we are.
The Legend of Zelda. A Link to the Past. To me, that is even though I had a NES, the Link to the Past is probably Skyward Sword 1. Link to the Past is 1A because to me that sets everything up. Mm-hmm. That game set the entire lore. I'm big on lore. That's why I think why I appreciate Mortal Kombat so much is because of the lore. Not so much of all the blood and the guts and stuff that's funny, but it's more of the lore behind it. Or even, other games like Halo, the lore of it, right? And that's what kind of attracts me to it. And so A Link to the Past just happened to be my favorite game on my favorite console of all time.
Sure. Yeah.
So I will say, like, if anybody gets a chance, and it's on Switch, like a lot of these games are on Switch now. You can literally just get a Super Nintendo Play Pass for like less than $10, whatever. And you can play all these classic games that have set up so much of the foundation that we literally celebrate,
Yeah.
Whether it's Link to the Past or Super Castlevania 4 or Super Metroid. God.
Oh, man.
Super Metroid didn't exist. A lot of Metroid lore would exist. Super Mario World, Super Mario Kart, stuff like that. So many of those wonderful games came out on the Super Nintendo. So it's more so not just a Link to the Past, but a celebration of what Super Nintendo means to me. And also I think of its importance in the grand scheme of Nintendo in general, because without that, we wouldn't have no Star Fox, we wouldn't have Earthbound, we wouldn't have you said Mega Man X. Mega Man X was on Super Nintendo, which was amazing. So we wouldn't have any of that. So I guess, sorry Genesis, I guess Nintendo do.
Yeah, all these years later, we're finally getting the last laugh. Yeah, A Link to the Past, just what a masterpiece.
It's a masterpiece, and it's a great game. If you ever get a chance, play it. It incorporates so much of the lore, the Master Sword, the Dark World, the idea of just exploration.
Yeah.
And
I would say
it's a really good story.
One thing that it makes it even more interesting that you're bringing on Skyward Sword today is that it set up the Zelda formula of the majority of the series. That Skyward Sword, actually that's technically not true. What I was going to say was that Skyward Sword is kind of the last one to sort of follow that same formula of the structure of the game. But I think A Link Between Worlds does kind of the same thing too, even though it's more of like an open structure. But yeah, the Link to the
it's
go
a spiritual
for it. Sorry.
Successor. No, you're right, Connor, because a link Between Worlds is really just A Link to the Past. I don't want to say reboot it, but it's a spiritual successor, but it just has different elements into it because of the 3DS. But you're absolutely right. It still was the last bit of that structured type of Zelda before you went into all open world. I didn't mean to cut you off, but you're absolutely right.
Oh no, thank you. My thought was sort of like escaping me as I was, so that was really helpful anyway. But yeah, A Link to the Past. What an amazing game. Well, Sean, this has been great to just, like I said, scratch the surface of your history with video games. We're going to go ahead and just take a quick break before we come back for our discussion about all things Skyward Sword. So I'll see you on the other side.
See you then.
Welcome back to Call Me By Your Game. Connor McCabe here, just back to continue this episode with, of course, our guest, Sean Williams. Sean, welcome back.
Thank you for having me back. Yes.
You're so welcome. We're finally here for the main event. Before we, you've brought on The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword to discuss for today. Before we get into, your personal history with it and anything that you're going to share, I'm going to set the table and do a little history and context for the listener. But again, like I said, if you want to jump in and add something, feel free.
No, please do. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, without further ado,
there's probably some stuff I forgot. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh, maybe. But you've already. I mean, it's funny because we've been giving some breadcrumbs about this today when it comes to like the release of the game with the symphony soundtrack and the special Wiimote. But without further ado, I'll go ahead and jump into it. The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword is a 2011 action-adventure game developed and published by Nintendo for the Wii. A high-definition remaster of the game, The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword HD, was co-developed by Tantalus Media and released for the Switch in July 2021. Did you end up picking that up?
I did, yep.
Me too. Are you an amiibo guy at all?
No, not so much. That's,
Sure, fair game.
Money. Yeah.
Yes, I know that. I just remember when this game came out on the Wii, they released like a Loftwing amiibo, which I have a few amiibo myself now. By a few, I think I'm looking over here. I think I have like 7 or 8, and they're truly all Zelda amiibo. But I also have Ness and that from Earthbound and Lucas from Mother 3.
Okay, I'm jealous, dude. Okay.
Yeah.
I will totally, I'm jealous.
We've suddenly converted you to an amiibo person.
Yes, you did. You sold me, yeah.
But that's cool that you picked up. I picked up the HD remaster myself, and played through it that year. And I'm sorry, we're off. I'm off of the history and context. But in 2021, Super NPC Radio, this podcast network, did a Legend of Zelda Games Club where we played through, I think it was either 16 or 17 of the like 20 or so mainline games and did like podcasts on each of them. And so I hosted the episode on this game and I played the Wii version, I think 3 times at that point. So I basically played the Switch version for it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyway, I'll share all that crap with you just in case you want to go down that rabbit hole.
Please do.
Taking the role of series protagonist Link, once again, players navigate the floating island of Skyloft and the land below it, completing quests to advance the story, and solving all sorts of the traditional puzzles that you might do in a Zelda series. One of the things that made this game special was that not only was it a game on the Wii using Wii Motion, techniques and sort of a gameplay input style, but as we were talking about earlier, the Wii Motion Plus peripheral was required to play this game. So whether you had one like Sean does, whether it's a Wiimote with the Motion Plus built in, or if you're myself and owned like 2 different Wii Motion Plus little add-ons to the system, that was required to play it. One of the things that is a couple interesting facts about this game is that this is the first main console Zelda game after Twilight Princess, also released for the Wii. So this is the second game released on the Wii, at least in the Zelda series. And also, this was directed by Hidemaru Fujibayashi, who would go on to directed the Oracle games on the Game Boy Color. Did you ever play those?
I did. Wow, I didn't know that.
So that was like his beginning of dipping his toe into directing. He did this game, and then he's also done... He may have done more, but he did. He's plenty of people are involved in this. But Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, he is also the director of, which is interesting because while this game in most ways I would say is completely different than the Switch Zeldas that we know, there are a couple things about it that I feel like I can see like little the sort of seeds planted in a way. This game. Sorry, what were you saying?
No, I was thinking that was interesting because, especially when you said Twilight Princess, obviously that was a launch title for the Wii. They pushed it back, and it became a launch title for the Wii. But it also came out a couple months later for the GameCube, and it was the last first-party title that came out for the GameCube.
Yeah,
and it's so funny because I'm sure people know this, but. Depending on which version you have, I think the Wii version of Skyward Sword, he's right-handed, Whereas the GameCube version, he's left-handed. So they reverse the perspective, and they reverse the entire
the map. Yeah.
Because of that, which is crazy. And then to tail end that with the final, and I could be completely wrong, and I probably am. Somebody will go into the comments and tell me. I thought Skyward Sword was the final or one of the last games to be released for the Wii. But
I think it was pretty late in the life cycle, so
right.
Yeah.
But I bring that up because remember, Twilight Princess wasn't particularly supposed to be made for the Wii. It was supposed to be made for GameCube. So they kind of force-fed the motion controls into Twilight Princess, which is why it's kind of weird. Whereas Skyward Sword, if you didn't have that add-on, that was primarily made for the Wii. So you had to have something because that had to have motion control. So when they introduced the Skyward Sword HD for Switch, I'm wondering, do I have to remove my Joy-Cons to play this? Can I actually play? I that was interesting, but then I bought that and they actually incorporated it into like the regular joystick.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is cool. That's cool.
Yeah, sort of like I think part of what you're getting at is it was interesting that like that Twilight Princess went through the opposite of a traditional like game using controller, like what you consider controller inputs traditionally. Was then converted to be used on the Wii, and this game was designed for the Wii, but then they also found a way to use it with a traditional controller input, quote unquote.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's crazy.
I ended up playing actually Skyward Sword HD using the motion with the two Joy-Con because honestly, I think because I played the first one 3 times, it felt foreign for me to just use the like new updated controls. Did you use how did you play it?
I played it by the control, or not by the joystick.
Yeah, how'd you like it?
Connected. I like it. It takes a little bit to get used to.
Sure.
But also, I didn't play Skyward Sword for a while because I just haven't plugged up my Wii in a bit. But it is definitely different, and it takes a bit to get used to, especially if you're coming off of Breath of the Wild or Link's Awakening, which I think both of those are already out on the Switch before Skyward Sword came out. So it takes a bit of adjusting to. It's interesting. Maybe I might have to do like you, Connor, and just like actually just do the Joy-Cons.
Yeah,
that might have to be the case. So sword and shield. Yeah,
totally. This gets into like an interesting. I've only got a couple more things I'm going to share about just the history and context, so we can actually hear from you about your time with the game. But this gets into an interesting discussion about the game where it was when this game came out, it was really well reviewed. Like when it came out, people kind of like most mainline Zelda games with very few exceptions was like critically acclaimed, well regarded, but there was criticism over the use of the Wii Motion Plus and the motion controls because there are times in the Wii game where it is a bit finicky. And so I actually thought that I was really impressed with. I still had the occasional issue on the Switch with the motion because it's just, I don't know if it's the technology or just the game design itself, right. But that would still pop up. But yes, the original release also faced a bit of criticism for that. But I mean, at the time I was like, this is the promise of the Wii to actually have the sort of one-to-one motion of the sword, which, still wasn't exactly like you're in VR holding up your lightsaber fighting Darth Vader, but it was a step towards that sort of. Exactly. So there's that. And then the last bit of context I want to share is that story and lore wise, this game is incredibly interesting because I think when this game came out was when they finally released an official Zelda timeline. And this is like supposedly the beginning of the series narratively and sets off, all of the events that we would know today.
Exactly. So around this time, they released what's called Hyrule Historia. So Hyrule Historia is just, it's a gathering of all Zelda lore, going from 1986's Legend of Zelda all the way up to that time, 2011 Skyward Sword, and then creating a timeline. And granted, there's so many plot holes.
Yeah.
There's so many, like, wait, this doesn't make sense. If this happened in this game, why in this game? And I think what people have to understand and remember is that the series is called The Legend of Zelda. Not the story of Zelda, the Legend of Zelda.
Not the factual history of Zelda.
Right. Not exactly. Not the documentary of Zelda. So these are legends. These are passed down. These are tales that are told. So obviously there's going to be different reiterations, different styles. That's why so many of the games have a different style to it.
Yeah.
Twilight Princess has a different visual style than Skyward Sword does. Wind Waker, at the time, people were pissed.
Yeah.
I was one of them because I saw that tech demo of this realistic Zelda and I was like, oh, we're going to get this. And all of a sudden we get this cartoony Toon Link and I'm like, what the hell is this? What are you doing? Besides knowing exactly what needed to be done, Nintendo, because that game has aged much more gracefully than any, most other Zeldas have.
Absolutely.
And so it's crazy because it's like people have to remember that. So Hyrule Historia created a timeline to where you can kind of follow that. But again, you have to remember it's a legend. So when people have their gripes and complaints about where does Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom fall? Does it fall at the end? And then it doesn't reference Zelda lore beforehand. Okay.
Yeah.
That's okay.
It is what it
is.
Legend. Yeah.
It's a legend. Who cares? As long as the games are good and I can play them, I'm fine with that. So I just think that's that's so funny. Yeah.
I land in a similar space where like it's fun to speculate on the timeline and see what they put together, but I'm not emotionally invested in it. And also it's clear, and what happened was that they retroactively built a timeline and they had already made a bunch of games. So like, whatever. I'm with you where I'm like, it's fun and I'll buy it and that's great. But back to the original point this is the start of the timeline in
the
all
absolute start. Yeah.
Which is really cool and was one of the most fun things for me at the time to play through this and see how they would reveal certain things, or you would see maybe where certain long, known Zelda tropes came from. So anyway, before we get into your history, is there any like little bullet points about just like this game in particular to set the table that we should get into before we hear about your time?
For this game in particular, I would always say, really play it, but play it with the knowledge of knowing that this is the beginning. So yeah, it is retroactively going back in time, but it's creating so much of what we know. And if you do that, and then you go through the story, because at the end of the day, like outside of maybe Wind Waker, Ocarina of Time has a pretty good story, has a really good story. Wind Waker has a beautiful story. Outside of that, this story is amazing and if you go in with that knowledge of just like, wow, how did this end up being? How did this end up being created? And then you go into the wonderful gameplay and all the technical aspects of it. I think you would appreciate Skyward Sword a lot more.
Yeah, big time.
Because it is the first time. And that's not an easy feat to accomplish when you have all these games beforehand. And then you're like, well, for the 25th anniversary, we're going to create a game that goes all the way back to how this franchise even began.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing. So if you take that in consideration, I think it's just a lot more rewarding to go through this game, this beautiful game.
Yeah. I wonder if anyone, we've referenced Star Wars a couple times on this episode, but I know that there are people who try to introduce friends of the series by making them watch like the series chronologically. Like it would be interesting if someone started with this game and then went forward down the timeline. I don't know how they would feel about it, but because we came to it having already played, at least most people playing at least a few Zelda games.
That's a good point. Yeah. That might be a hard ask.
Yeah, I think so.
Start with Skyward Sword and then end up with The Adventure of Link. People be like, wait, why? Wait, no, this just controls like this doesn't feel right.
Yes. I think lastly, one thing I left out, which isn't the most important thing, but this came out in 2011 worldwide, over a week it was released, but the North American release was November 20th. I remember, I'll sort of use this to dovetail it into your time with it. I remember getting this game. I had, like, I didn't get it for Christmas that year, even though I had asked for it. So the day after Christmas, Boxing Day, I was at Target as quickly as I could, and I got this game and a Wii Motion Plus add-on. And then that was like the rest of my holiday break. I was still in college at the time, so it was like, I just remember I have so many great memories of playing this game and then having to be like torn away from it to actually spend time with my friends. But for you, Sean, was this a game that you were anticipating when it came out? How did you come to play it?
I was very much, as soon as it was announced, new Zelda, anytime a new Zelda comes out, especially one of this magnitude, I was on board. So I start reading the tea leaves, going to GameStop. I put a deposit down so that way I can have it the first night it comes out, and not just for the game, but I wanted the entire commemorative edition. So I wanted the Wii Motion Plus control, the game, and the CD. I bought the player's guide. Yeah, we had to buy player's guides back then.
I am a huge player's guide head. I never owned this one, but anytime someone enjoys those, I'm like, hey, I'm one of you.
Oh, dude, I'll totally have to dig out my player's guide and bring it to you the next time I see you in person for sure. But so the anticipation for me was through the roof. And again, I wasn't really following the Wii U, and I heard about it a little bit, but I didn't really care. I was still much into the Wii itself. And so the game comes out first night, and I remember just staying up all night playing it.
Wow.
I stayed up the entire night playing it. I think I got to Elden Volcano by the time I went to sleep. I literally stayed up all night.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't. It was just. I picked it up early that morning, popped it into my Wii. The screen popped up, and I think you had to get an update. I think you had to update something onto your Wii.
Really?
Remember?
I don't remember.
It was because I guess the game has so much information that you had to update like this channel. It had its own separate channel that you had to update into the Wii to play this damn game. And I was like, okay, I'm transfixed. So yeah, and I played that game straight, and I can get into the personal stuff later.
For sure.
Why I was playing it straight through, but
yeah.
I was, besides, like you said, Smash for the Wii U.
Yes.
This was it. I was super into it.
I've got so many questions I want to ask you already. For a little bit of context, was this right before you moved to LA? Were you still in Texas or wherever you were living at the time?
So, and I'll just briefly kind of get into where I was going. So I just graduated. Well, not just graduated. I graduated college in University of Houston.
Cool.
I was living in Houston at the time, and I was just like in process of leaving Houston, but I wasn't financially ready to come back to LA.
Totally.
So I had to end up moving. I wanted to move in, and they were so wonderful to let me do that. I moved back in with my parents, and they were living in Marion, Indiana at the time. There is nothing to do in Marion, Indiana. Not a damn thing. So video games was perfect. And so I ended up, at the time I was just super, I was just not depressed. Well, yeah, actually depressed. So I just put all my stuff in my car, got on the road, moved to Marion, Indiana, stayed with my parents, which was the best thing that could have happened to me at that time. And so then I started hearing about Skyward Sword. So I ended up going to GameStop because there was only 2 GameStops in Marion, Indiana. So I was at one all the time. They knew who I was. So I go in, pick up that game, and then I ended up actually no. So I had Skyward Sword, moved to LA. I moved to Palmdale, Connor,
okay,
not LA, Palmdale,
yes,
flipping California, because I found a good rate on an apartment, but I had no idea how far it was from LA. So I was like, oh crap. So so I'm playing Skyward Sword because there ain't shit else to do in Palmdale. And that's when I actually beat Skyward Sword.
Okay.
It was like about a week and a half once I moved into Palmdale, California. And then the rest is history. But thank you, Palmdale, for giving me the time and nothing else happening out there for me to beat this game.
Truly. Okay, cool. I was just kind of curious where you would have been based on some of the stuff you were sharing earlier. That's awesome. When you think of Skyward Sword, the game itself, though, what is one of the first things that comes to mind that you want to talk about?
The first thing is the story.
Yeah.
It's I think, for me personally speaking, it's the story that resonates the most with me. Not so much. I know how important Ocarina of Time is. I think the Wind Waker story of letting go and forging a new path, I think that's beautiful. Skyward Sword to me was about friendship, about discovery. Because at the time, I knew I wanted to act, I knew I wanted to do comedy, but I just didn't know what am I supposed to be doing, right? Like, what is my purpose? What am I supposed to be doing? And if you follow the franchise of Legend of Zelda, it really is about destiny and doing the things that you're destined to do. And so with Skyward Sword, just a story of these two, I'll say it, these two people that love each other. They do. Link and Zelda, for the first time. Yeah. For the first time, it is clear as day that these two love each other. And then and they beautifully tell you that through the first part of the game, where you're on Skyloft and you're racing against Groose, who's one of the greatest characters ever. Please bring Groose back. Oh my God, he's Biff, but he's Biff with a heart.
Truly, yes.
he's such an asshole, but he's so wonderful. He has such a wonderful redemption.
I even love like his theme, like the music in this game is amazing, but like Groose's theme with the horn is just so good.
It's like yeah, it's so funny. So then you built this connection. You as the player, you feel this connection between Link and Zelda. So then when the tornado hits and she's taken, it's not the princess is missing at the beginning. You built this connection with her and then she's taken from you. And now it's like, oh crap. Now you feel like Link does. I got to go get her back. Like, I'm more concerned about her than Headmaster Gapora, because he's just like, oh, well, Zelda told you what? Okay, she's down here. Okay, we'll just go get her. You're the dad. Yeah. Help me. But whatever. That's neither here nor there. So the story, this game, complain about how linear it is or the motion controls. I get it. Those are valid complaints. I just think that this story is amazing. It just is. You care about, I don't want to go into too much spoiler because some people might not have played it.
Sure.
But the people that you meet, in particular, that help you on your journey, and outside of Tears of the Kingdom, I think this is the most Zelda-centric story out of all the Zelda games.
Definitely.
She's barely in anything else. She's barely in Twilight Princess. She's always a damsel in distress beforehand.
She's just a memory in Majora's Mask, my favorite game, but like she's barely in that.
She's barely in that. Yeah. Like you said, she's a memory, and I love Majora's Mask also. And so for her to actually, this is just as much of a journey for her as it is for Link. And you don't find that out until later on, which is beautiful. You're like, oh crap, I see what you did here. I can't really get too much in the story without spoilers, but yeah, so it's just a beautiful story. And the music, yes.
Gosh, it's all so good. Yeah, you make so many great points about the narrative and how I think, like you were saying, they forge this connection between, the player character Link and Zelda at the beginning, so that they're, as opposed to going on this mission to save this sort of like faceless princess that you might not know at the beginning of a lot of these, it's someone that you deeply care about. And that is something that I feel like they continue to execute throughout the game as well. And it all has stakes. It all matters. It's cool too, because this observation's probably been made before, but there's so much made in the series about, the Triforce and the courage, power, and wisdom of it all. And this game, I feel like, is one of the first times where it feels like wisdom and like the Zelda leg of the Triforce really matters and is just as important as the courage and the Link portion of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you see that, and you see why these two people were chosen for that.
Big time.
You see why Zelda was chosen for wisdom. You see why Link was chosen for courage. And also this game gives you a sense of, again, it's even if it's linear, you still have this sense of urgency.
Mm-hmm.
Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, it's open world. It's this expansive world, and you can kind of take your time doing different things, knowing that pretty much the majority of the story comes back from memories.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily it's more so Tears of the Kingdom is more so like what's happening now, because there's more of a story to it. But with Skyward Sword, it's very much she's pretty much right there.
Yeah.
You need to finish this dungeon. You gotta get this item, because if you don't, she's literally right there in front of you. You're gonna miss her. And not only that, the antagonist is one of the best villains ever. Majora's Mask, the Skull Kid.
Yeah.
Obviously Ganondorf and Girahim. Girahim is a flippin' beast. I love him. This almost androgynistic, just he plays with his victim and he delights in it. I've never seen that in any villain before, and I think it is. It's like David Bowie in Labyrinth.
Yeah,
I love him. I love that villain. I think that villain is amazing, and he will slit your neck at the drop of a dime to get to Zelda. I
Big time.
Love that.
Yeah. Oh man, there's so much too that we could talk about when it comes to Girahim as well. That is like so masterfully done, I feel like. And I've, this game has I love it. When I finished it, I was like, I tend to be a prisoner of the moment in all things, but when I finished this game, I was like, oh, that's my favorite game of all time. Now, I'll be honest, it ranks lower in my Zelda series, but I still love it so much, and I think it's amazing. It's my favorite series. Like, some game is not every game can be at the top, but its strengths are so powerful. I remember something that I really liked about the game was, I feel like for the first time in a while, I think Twilight Princess did this a bit, but this game also had a lot of really fun, cool equipment items that you used, whether it was like the gust bellows was so unexpected, or the whip too.
The whip, yeah.
It's just so cool.
So fun.
Do you have a moment in this game that sticks out to you that's most memorable or most fun?
I want to say it's two of them. When you get to the I think it's the Sacred Grounds. No, not Sacred Grounds. The Desert Temple.
Oh, right? Yes.
And you get to the Gate of Time. And
oh my goodness,
she's right there, but then you get that cutscene and Girahim shows up, and so right then and there you miss her, right? And I viscerally felt something. I was like, oh, she's right. Oh. And it was like, you have to go. You have to go. I'm thinking this as a player while I'm trying to hold off Girahim. That, and I love the play dynamics of the the desert where you had like the little robots, the little
Yeah, I don't know what they're called, but I mean like with the time stone
with
stuff.
the time stones, I love that. I think that is such a cool concept, a cool mechanic of I have to hit this time stone right here, and only a certain part of the area that you're in is in the past, and then a certain area is dried up in the future. I think that is visually beautiful. I really like that stuff. I get it, and I understand why this game isn't particularly high on a lot of people's lists, because it does have a lot of faults. I'm with you. I don't like finding the imprisoned 3 to 4 times.
I do though. Like I do love how it looks like this big silly Muppet looking thing. I don't even dislike that, but I know that is quite a common criticism is the repeated fights. Yeah.
It's the
Sorry
repeated
to interrupt you.
fights. No, you're good, because like that's the thing. Like, and it's motion control, so I got to keep swinging to cut this dude's toes so he can tip over, and then I got to make sure Groose is at his thing so you can flip a bomb to him. It does get tedious. So the imprisoned fights, the motion control did have its limits on occasion, but I still did enjoy that, being immersed in that. But it was so funny because the big complaint for most people was just the linear aspect of it. I like that because I grew up on A Link to the Past. I grew up on Majora's Mask. I grew up on Link's Awakening, where they kind of they do kind of hint to you where next to go. And the fact is, even though there's like 3 main areas, outside of the sky, you have Farron Woods, Lake Floria, and then the desert.
Yes.
Or Elden Volcano, I'm so sorry.
Oh, yeah.
And so, but each part, every time you grow or every time you find a new item, a new area opens up.
Yes.
It's discovery.
Absolutely.
It's the discovery of it. And so I like that. And I think that for this game, it works. But the imprisoned and also the flying. And that's the great thing I love about Wind Waker HD is that the sailing part of that Triforce. Remember that last Triforce?
Oh, the quest. Yes, I do.
Dude, didn't you hate that? And you have to do the little tingle tuner or just try to find can I
huge improvement faster? On the Wii U version there.
Way bigger, yeah. So the same thing with Skyward Sword. I didn't really care for much of the flying, and Skyloft is very limited, but just from story, from characterization, and then from lore and items, like you said, Gus Bellows, which is very popular in Super Smash Brothers. The whip. I love Indiana Jones, got me into movies. So anytime I'm like, oh yes, I love it. So there are things to piece away from this, and it just means a lot to me because of the time that it came out and where I was at with it.
Yeah, I love that. I think I want to ask about that. I'll say that talking about like the linearity of this game, I think like you were saying, this game is just as linear as almost every game between this and Link to the Past. I think it was a victim of maybe like a fatigue at this point. Like if this game had come out when Twilight Princess came out, would the general public have complained as much about the linearity? Maybe not. But yeah, I would love it to get into some of the context of your life when you were playing this game as well. So I would like to start, and because I think it sounds like you played this game in 2 places, can you do some scene painting for me on either in Indiana or what was the place that you moved to near LA? Palmdale. Either place. Will you scene paint like the room? Maybe the more memorable one where your Wii was set up that you were playing this game?
Okay, so in Marion, Indiana, I had so my room was Marion, Indiana had basic, pretty much minimalism, everything. There wasn't much to do. So I would have my Wii U set up and my my TV screen, but not on the wall. It was just like on a little stand
Yes.
that you could sit up there, and I would have all my Wii games connected. Have my little Wii,
The sensor bar.
the sensor bar,
Yes.
up on top, and really that was like my sanctuary. Is like my. I didn't have a lot of stuff at that time because again I was already graduated from college and I was living kind of like staying at friends' houses and living out of my car and stuff at the time. So I didn't have a lot of things. And so just having that warmthness going back to my parents' house was real nice. And so I would set up my Wii and just play games like all night long. Which was, at the time it was what I needed.
Totally.
In particular at that time because I just was sad and I just needed something to speak to me and just to bring my spirits up and then to go from there. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to move to LA, and then you get to Palmdale, and I get to Palmdale and set up my apartment. Everything is nice, and obviously I got the same TV I had in Indiana. I bring it to Palmdale. I set that up in my living room, so I have my little kitchen and stuff, and I would just cut on lights and stuff like that, and put on my music, and not even just music, but I would turn the music down, turn up the TV, because the music in that game was so beautiful and resonant, and so I would just finish up Skyward Sword, and I would turn up, and again, the Wii was like 480. I think it was like 480.
Yes, I think you're right.
IRP, yeah. So it wasn't. The graphics weren't that great, but then in comparison to now, but back then it was like, oh snap! I didn't have a PS or I didn't have an Xbox, so what do I know? And then just if you can picture meeting demise for the first time. And just the thunder and the just the orchestra kicking in and Demise talking, telling you how he's gonna, if you don't beat him, that's it. And so just having that visceral experience of the music, the rain, the thunder, having to hold my damn Wii remote up because I have to touch it to the sky so I can get that lightning bolt and toss that to him. And so the first time I beat it while I was in Palmdale, and it had to be like 1 a.m. in the morning. Did it. And it was so rewarding.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because, and I never thought about it until you brought it up, Connor, and maybe from talking about it right now. The fact that I started that game in Indiana. I started that game in Indiana, coming from a very low place, just feeling lost, etc., things like that. And then months later, about 6-7 months later, because in and out, I wasn't playing the game all the time.
Totally.
Day, but then moving to LA or moving to Palmdale, living out of my car, but then now being able to have my own house or my own apartment, furniture, etc., right? And then finishing that game then.
Yeah.
I never thought about it that way until we just right now talked about that. And I think that's that really resonates. I don't know.
I mean, like, I'm not going to project too much on what you were going through or like this new chapter, but it does feel like, maybe there was something to, kind of like this fresh start almost. And then being able to complete this thing that you had started, before. Maybe there was something that was, important about that. I'm not sure. That's cool though.
I think that's exactly it. Just fresh start, and then completing what you started.
Mm-hmm.
And just the sheer happiness I had once it happened, and I was like, wow, that's an experience. That is an experience. It's not just it's a game, but it's also an experience. And again, it's you're going on this journey with these two people, but you're also on your own journey, which I think is nice.
Yeah.
And that's always what Zelda has been to me. It's always been about, it's about the journey and not the destination, right? And so whether it's Majora's Mask and, oh man, I'm running out of time, let me wind the clock back. But the beauty of that game, and you know this, the beauty of that game is you're helping people. And that's the way that you build your strength, is by helping the townspeople, helping people find their own happiness. And then you're able to accomplish beating Majora. Skyward Sword, same thing. It's just this encapsulation of being able to, life throws something hard at you. Life throws this tornado at you. Takes away the one person you probably love the most, or takes away the one thing that you love the most. So what are you going to do about that?
Yeah.
And then they incorporate time traveling elements to where, you know, spoiler alert, just cover your ears for the next 10 seconds. You're looking for Zelda. When you drop down into Hyrule for the first time and you're frantically looking for Zelda, and then you go into the temple where Impa is, she's right there the entire time.
Just
remember, she's back there.
Yeah.
She's in the amber.
Yeah, it's just, it's like sealed behind the doors or something, right?
And you do not know that until later on in the game, and you see the sacrifice that she makes, and you're like, oh shit, she was there the entire time. What? That's, how many games can you say make you think that, or make you feel something like that, to where, I don't know, I just think that's amazing.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so powerful. There's so many moments like that in this game too. Again, we keep talking about it, but the biggest strength just being this narrative and the emotion. There's so many moments like that were powerful, I think. Even you're talking about, you know, that final fight with Demise, and I think one of the most powerful and harrowing things in the whole game is how after you defeat him, he tells you that for eternity he is going to haunt you, and like, even if it's not him, like this sort of how do I want to say it, this formation of evil is going to continue to hunt you.
Exactly.
Is one of those things that it rings true for the Zelda series, because it's always Ganon, almost always, not always, almost always Ganon coming back, but also it's one of those things that is kind of like a frightening dose of reality, I think, in the world as we know it, of like, it always seems like there's evil around that we're having to triumph over, sort of thing. Not to get on my own soapbox about that, but man, that among so many moments were so good.
No, please. Like, no, that's the thing. And we're sharing with each other. And it's the idea of your past coming to haunt you, and just this never ending cycle, but yet there's always hope. As corny as that sounds, and as cheesy as that sounds, sometimes we just need that, especially nowadays, where it seems like everything is so effing negative and so divisive, and just, you're just like, why? Like, what's happening? And similar to what Demise, you know, like, hey, no matter what you do, this cycle is going to keep happening. But guess what? Okay, I know you're going to keep coming back, but guess what? Our ancestor, the next Link and the next Zelda is always going to come up and step up to the plate, and bring us hope, and bring us, you know, and because that's what it is. It's all about hope. It's all about what's that next positive thing. What's that thing that's going to push me ahead? And it's hard. It's hard as hell.
Big time.
And that's the beauty of these type of games. And I think also, you know, even though they're two totally different type of structures, but Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, I think, do exceptionally well, is that it is doomsday. It is
big time.
Big time. But yet still, like, there's always hope. There's always these things. And You brought up Hyrule Historia. No matter what, all those games, the single connecting thread with everything is that even if evil happens, there's always a Link and there's always a Zelda that steps up.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the fact that this game recognized that, and it actually calls it out and it addresses it. And it's like, yeah. And it's like, you know what? Okay. Because we know where this story goes. We know you're the first, and you've cursed these two people to always have to deal with your evil. But we know how this story ends because we played it through the Minish Cap. We played it through Four Sword Adventures, Majora's Mask, Ocarina of Time. And every single time, your ass got beaten.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's so good. Last couple things for you is there anything you haven't gotten to share about either the game itself or like the context from your life when you play it when you played it that you'd like to share?
I think pretty much I nailed. I think I pretty much brought everything up that I was kind of feeling at the time going through it. I hope I did.
Cool.
And I hope that whoever's listening, that all of you that are listening that understands that, and even if it's not Skyward Sword, but if it's a game or if it's a movie or if it's a book or anything that you have experienced and that it speaks to you, I hope that you can kind of take parts, bits and pieces from this and incorporate that into your own self. I just know that this game, again, for all its faults, and maybe even that's why more so I cape up for this game, because so many people have just, you said it at the beginning, like, oh, this game is amazing, A+, 10 out of 10, da da da, and then years pass and it's like, oh, it's not that great. Breath of the Wild is better, and they start tearing it down. And we tend to do this with properties that mean something to us, but then now we have to find faults. Mm-hmm. It's okay. It's not supposed to be perfect. Like, there are faults to this game, and just like in improv, I embrace the faults.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, yeah, this game is not perfect, but it means something to me.
Yeah.
And just the iconic credit scene of seeing Zelda's journey.
Oh yeah,
literally happening right before each area that you travel to.
Pretty good stuff.
I think that is beautiful, and just yeah,
I love it. When we were chatting about getting you on the show and talking about a few games, this is one that you had thrown out there as an option, and because no one had brought it on before, and there are still games that have like never been discussed in this sort of one-on-one context. Even like no one's talked about A Link to the Past, but like because you had Skyward Sword as a nominee, I was like, I wanted to hear from you, so I'm so glad that you brought it on. Thank you for. I mean, I got a couple segments prepared for you, but thank you for bringing it on and talking about your time with it in the first place. This was great.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and thank you for having this podcast to begin with, having this forum for us to jump up on here and talk about the things that we love, especially in video game form. So, yeah, we could do this anytime. I mean, there's more Zelda. There's always Zelda.
Gosh, isn't there?
Know, right?
Well, thank you for bringing it on. Before we go, though, I've got a couple of post-show segments prepared for you, Sean. The first of which is the Fact Me by Your Game segment, and I'm just going to share some fun facts about this game with you, my guest.
Oh, well, yeah, please share.
So both of these facts come from one of my favorite YouTube video game channels. Are you familiar with Did You Know Gaming?
No.
Well, well, you should look it up after this, because they've got on so many big franchises or even specific games that they do really fun, whether they unearth facts or find out trivia. It's great, but they've done so many Zelda episodes that there's a whole playlist of 30 of them. Both of these facts come from Did You Know Gaming Zelda Part 5. I think they both come from this.
Okay.
I know for sure they come from the channel. Anyway, the first one I have for you is titled "My Heart Piece Must Go On." Now, this is something I didn't know until I looked it up, but in Skyward Sword, there's a reference to the 1997 blockbuster hit Titanic that can be easily missed. Is this familiar at all to you? Because I have had no idea before I read this.
No,
okay.
That's not.
I'll walk you through it. We were talking about the like Lanayru Desert and the Sand Sea with the robots and the time crystals, and this kind of ties into that. So one of the robots that you end up, it's like he's not a pirate robot, but he's one of the little guys named Skipper, who I think is the one you use to like go on the little boat in the sea.
Yes.
So while helping Skipper get his ship back in the Lanayru Sand Sea, Link eventually finds himself in Skipper's home. The walls in his little place are lined with photos of Skipper and his crew. And one of the photos,
you have to use the gust bellows to
to get rid of the sand. One of the most like satisfying things in this game, just like cleaning up the sand for some reason. I love that feeling. But there is a photo where if you look closely, you can see that Skipper is holding another robot over the front of the ship.
No!
Yeah, like which is kind of an unmissable reference, or I guess homage to Titanic.
What?
Yeah, so this video specifically, let me go ahead and pull this up. We won't watch it now, but I'm gonna put this in the chat just so that you can watch it, because it's great. You can definitely see it. It's small, but it's there.
Watch this.
But yeah, what a wild thing. I would have never guessed there's a Titanic reference in a Zelda game. And the second fun fact I have for you, I have titled Loftwing Real World Origins. We were talking about the Loftwings earlier, the bird-like creatures that you use to fly around in this game. They
are on Link's shield, which was established in A Link to the Past. Like you see the Loftwing on the shield.
Yes, yeah, another great like way they found to tie that into the series. So the design of the creature took inspiration from a few different real-world animals. There's two that they have here. The most obvious, and if you look up this animal, you'll see it, is probably the large eyes and thick beaks coming from the bird, the Balancepes. Gosh, how do I pronounce this? Balanceps rex, but they're more commonly known as the shoe-billed stork. So if you Google shoe-billed stork, you'll see the animal. You'll be like, oh yes, I recognize that bird.
Makes sense.
This is a species that lives in tropical East Africa in large swamps, I guess all the way from Sudan to Zambia. But the less obvious influence. So you seeing that bird right now?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, it's like, obviously where they drew the influence.
That is it.
The less obvious design is on the tail of the Loftwing, which is curled, which was said to be designed after one of the designers had a Shiba Inu, and so it's got a tail. The Loftwings have tails like Shiba Inu, I guess.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
with the flappy. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. So the shoe-billed stork is the more obvious one, but the Inu, I guess, was also. I think that's kind of common. I feel like in games where a designer will pay homage to something in their lives, whether it's a pet or something.
Well, exactly. That's what I'm thinking. So wow, I'm so amazed that I have to look at that Titanic reference for sure. Because I did just pull up the stork one, and I was like, okay, because you can see the beak, and I'm like, yeah, that's definitely where they got reference.
Yes, I'll recheck too, because now that we're here, there's a chance that it might be just later in that video. The Titanic thing is there, but I'll look it up just to make sure I didn't miss it.
And I will say this, just one last thing real quick. If you get a chance on YouTube, there's a channel called Zeltic.
Oh, I know Zeltic.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
They are, I will watch a number of their videos. And
yes.
Because, they talk about kind of like, oh, well, what does this mean when this happens? And the Zelda timeline now with Tears of the Kingdom included. And I love watching those.
It's so fun.
It's so fun. It's just like-minded people that even there might be some things that I'm just like, okay, I don't know if I agree with that, but
sure.
It's like, I understand why you think that.
Yeah.
And that is interesting. And I love the fact that so much of this this history is embraced and just like there's things to it.
Yeah, absolutely. I love whether it's like fan speculation or something that maybe has a little more research, like I feel like Zeltic usually does. It's fun. Before I do your recommendations, I'll also say that the channel Boss Keys is really fun. And that basically will talk about like the design of certain Zelda dungeons, why they work, why they don't, where they come from. But yeah, Boss Keys is a recommendation for you.
Okay, Connor, can I ask real quick
please.
before we go? Because you're a Zelda fanatic, what are your top 3 Zelda games? I have to know.
Okay, I'll give you a top 4 because technically I have a tie at the top for me.
Give me top 4. Yep.
My 1A is Majora's Mask. It's my personal favorite game ever. My 1B is Tears of the Kingdom, which blew me away last year. My number I truly am not kidding when I say this. I have a full Zelda ranking from when we did this.
Yes. I had to ask this because I'm sorry. I have another Zelda lover on right now.
No, I'm glad you asked. This is the perfect time for it. So let's see. Favorite Zeldas. Okay. That's what I wanted to make sure. So
Majora's Tears of the Kingdom. Both played. Yep.
So 1A, 1B. My number 2 technically is Ocarina of Time, which is my first Zelda that I played. And my number 3 and this is just personal favorite, is Link's Awakening. I love Link's Awakening.
Yes.
Yeah, it's so good. I think looking at my list, because I've got 2 of the weirder Zeldas, like the sequels, like Majora and Link's Awakening in there. There's something about that where like when Link gets existential, I think I like it for some reason.
I agree.
Yeah.
Like that's so funny. Because hot take, whatever. I've said I like Majora's Mask more than the Ocarina of Time.
Yeah.
I'm just more of a Majora's Mask fan. And people are like, oh, but it's the same engine. It's the same. I'm like, I get that.
Yeah.
But it's just something about this idea of doomsday. And most people think like you can't stop that. But yet somehow he stops it. And I just love Fierce DT Link. I can't say DT right, but just when you have to you have to help out everybody in Termina. You have to help all them out to get this OP mask, and you get it. And this character, Jesus, man, this dude is insane. That's
one of like the most rewarding items I think in a Zelda game, especially after all that work. But I'll have to tell you my full ranking sometime. But I love the series. It's so good. The last thing I have for you, though, the final segment is the game recommendations. Now, Sean, this is my one forced tie-in to the movie Call Me By Your Name, where I'm going to treat Skyward Sword as your passionate summer fling that you have in Italy. Unfortunately, though, this romantic relationship's not going to work out. So I'm going to give you 3 recommendations to hopefully get you over that heartbreak. How does that sound?
All right. I mean, if need be, I'll do it.
All right, and I'm the best friend in a rom-com who's making you go out with us to the bar one night.
Okay, yeah, I'll go out. All right, let's go. Who do you have? What do you have?
Perfect. You're playing the part perfectly. So I've got 3 recommendations for you today. The first of which is if what you took away from this game was and I know it's not because you already said, is if you love flying around on a big winged beast. That's what really did it for you. I'll recommend a game called Panzer Dragoon Saga. Do you know the Panzer Dragoon series?
I do, yes. I never played it, but yeah.
It's also admittedly one I've never played either. But like it's different, but I love a rail shooter like Star Fox. Yeah. And in this game you ride a big dragon and it also shoots stuff. So there you go.
So it's like Star Fox, but instead of the air wing, you're on a big dragon.
Yes, totally. What? And I think this one specifically, this one was on the Sega Saturn, I think released in 1998. It also has like an RPG system where outside of the on-rail shooter parts, you do little battles, I want to say. So they might have ports of it available, but either way, your first one.
I'm writing that down right now. Panzer, yep. Panzer Dragoon. Yep.
Great series. The second recommendation, coincidentally, we have brought this game up today. I think you maybe brought it up for us earlier, is if what you took away from this game was you love the Wii Motion Plus and you just want another game that is just going to knock that out of the park and really take advantage of the feature, I'll recommend Wii Sports Resort. Of course, a classic. One that I have never had, and I do want to like look on eBay for at some point.
Yeah. I think they had the game is still out there. I think they had a Wii Sports Club that was strictly on oh my gosh, Nintendo's website, but they tore it down, so you can't even play it anymore. But yeah, Wii Sports Resort is basically Wii Sports with just 5 extra games.
Yeah.
But it's good. It's really good.
So, if you're a Wii Motion Plus head, that's the one for you. My final recommendation, and somehow
I like both of these suggestions you already gave me. I like both of these. Like, I'm good. I mean, you're a good best friend.
And then you're gonna see the third one walk in the bar, and a light's gonna shine on her, and she's gonna be even more gorgeous than the first two. But so I'm realizing something as we've talked as we got here, because this hinges on something in the game. We didn't say a word about Fee in this game. And the Master Sword. Which all we really need to say is that in Skyward Sword, if you're not familiar, the Master Sword, which you essentially help kind of become the Master Sword, it has a spirit in it called Fee, which is this like sort of like, I don't know, how would you describe Fee? The spirit that like is embodied by the sword, or?
Yeah, she embodies the sword. She's very robotic. She's learning about emotions and what it is to be human. So short circuit, all those type of things.
Yes.
That's Fee. Yeah.
Fee, great character. I think it's such a strong payoff with this character in this game.
Yes.
As if what you took away from Skyward Sword is you love Fee, and you love how you got a sword that's also a person. And you want another game that features weapons that can talk to you, but this time you want this weapon to be your boyfriend. I'll recommend to you the game called Boyfriend Dungeon. Have you heard of this game before?
No.
This is a game where essentially all of the weapons you have like spirits like Fee, that is also, I think, like partly a dating simulator.
What?
And I've never played it, but I remember when this game came out, people wouldn't shut up about it. So again, if Fee was like the thing you love most about the game, I recommend trying Boyfriend Dungeon.
Well, I mean, Fee would pop up and she would have her little bob and her little dress. And I'm like, oh, hey, Fee, good to see you again. And then she'd be like, you need to do this and that. I'm like, oh, come on, Fee, stop giving me instructions.
So cold. Can't we just talk?
Can't we just talk and get to know each other? And then at the end, she makes me cry. So sure, I love I love games with sentient with beings that become sentient, and just seeing where it goes. So a dating simulator with items,
with weapons.
Oh my god.
Well, that's your last one. I always save the funniest one I can think of for the last one. So again, to wrap this up, we have Panzer Dragoon Saga, Wii Sports Resort, and Boyfriend Dungeon. Don't try that. It's just so funny. That'll conclude the segment. And Sean, that'll actually bring us to the end of the podcast. So before we go and again, plug whatever we want to, even some of the shows that you were plugging earlier, thanks again for coming on today. This was so much fun to get to know you better, but also to just nerd out about some Zelda.
Thank you again for having me on. I can't wait to nerd out even more when we see each other, when we hang out. As far as if you're in LA, I got shows coming up throughout June. You can always follow my Instagram, IG, the letter I, the letter M, Sean Williams. All of my shows, anything that's coming up is going to be on there. And then if you're at UCB, come check me out. I'm always hanging out there, performing and teaching, so it's all good. And yeah, let's talk anything and all Zelda.
I love it.
Oh, and Denver. And if you're in Denver, I'll see you August 1st through the 3rd. So it seems like it's very far ahead now, but hell, with the way this year's been going, it'll be
truly
Christmas.
That's in like suddenly less than 2 months. That's crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
Gosh.
But again, thank you so much for having me on, Connor.
Of course.
This was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, this is great having you on. I'm sure we'll get to chat more soon. And I'll go ahead and just close this out with some plugs of my own. The cover art for Call Me By Your Game is done by Glenn J. You can find him and his other great work on Instagram at Glenn with two N's.jay. And of course, anything we're plugging today, you can find a link in the show notes. You can follow the show all over social media on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky. They all have slightly different names on those social media websites, so just check the links below. If you like this podcast, you can go ahead and give a thank you to the producer, editor, and the guy who did the music right up top. That's Jeremy Schmidt. You can listen to his podcast, Video Games, a Comedy Show, wherever you get yours. You can find me on social media as well, like all over the place, including on Twitch at twitch.tv/consiscool69, where I haven't been streaming as consistently recently, but I do play. Jeremy Schmidt and I stream Halo almost every Tuesday night together, where we've been playing through the campaigns in co-op. It's been a blast, and I've also been playing some BioShock on there for our games club, which is really good and so much fun. So you can follow me there. And then lastly, again, if you like these podcasts and you want to get more bonus podcasts for supporting us, you can check us out on patreon.com/supernpcradio, which is the podcast network that Jeremy and I started, where we host a bunch of bonus episodes every month. If you're at the $5 tier and above, you get our weekly Games Club series that releases every single Friday. Different than our Zelda Games Club, which we did years ago, where we, like I was telling you, Sean, we used to cover like one game at a time. This new format, new as of like a year and a half ago, we basically go through a game in a book club format. So like every week is a different chapter, basically.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So we're wrapping up our BioShock Games Club. If you're listening, which was so much fun, maybe the best one we've done yet. If you're listening to this when this episode comes out on, I believe that'll be June 12th, then the next series will have been decided. We're covering one of 5 indie games, which people are voting on Patreon right now. You know, if you're listening to this, the voting's over, but I'm so eager to see what we cover next. Again, that's at patreon.com/supernpcradio. There's bonus stuff at every tier. Check it out. And if there's something that's right for you, go ahead and feel free to support us. Other than that, that'll do it for this episode of Call Me By Your Game. We will see you on the next one.